Hey everyone, this is FIDE Master Kostya Kavutskiy here once again for Chess.com, and today I'll be starting a new series showing you all of the highlights from the recently concluded London Chess Classic. So this is a strong tournament that's held in London every year, and this past edition took place in December of 2013, and unlike previous years, it was actually held as a rapid tournament this year, featuring 16 of the world's strongest players. The first highlight I wanted to show you guys is just a really nice finish from one of the games in the earlier rounds, and playing white here is English Grandmaster Luke McShane, who, for those viewers that don't know him, is very strong, only plays a few tournaments a year, but his rating is consistently near the 2700 mark. And his opponent here is GM Andrei Istratescu, playing for France, who's also very high rated, very strong, around 2670 FIDE. So this position is white to play and win. Of course, it's a crazy position. Both sides have their attacking chances. And if you guys want to try and solve this position, try to find the best move for white and a winning continuation. And then meanwhile, I'll tell you a little bit more about this tournament. So the tournament had 16 players, and it featured pretty much some of the strongest players in the world. Vladimir Kramnik, Fabiano Caruana, Vishy Anand, and Hikaru Nakamura, who actually ended up winning the overall tournament. And the way they paired all the players is they split them up into 4 groups of 4. So each of those superstars, Kramnik, Caruana, Nakamura, and Anand, had their own separate group, and inside the group were 3 other really strong grandmasters. So each group of 4 then played a double round robin, so 6 rounds with white and black against each opponent, and the top 2 scorers from each group then advanced to the quarterfinals, and that became like a knockout process where they continued to play rapid until the final was reached, where Nakamura ended up beating Gelfand, and we'll definitely see part of that final match in this series sometime. So if you want more time to solve this position, then go ahead and pause the video and keep thinking, but otherwise I'm going to show the solution now. And the strongest move that McShane played was the move Bishop G6. And this is a really nice move, the idea being to cut off the black rook from defending the H6 square. Black's only way to continue the game is to play Queen F4, but of course white can simply exchange queens and pick up the bishop on d7 with a completely winning endgame. So rook e5 is kind of a computer solution because it blocks the black queen from getting to the f4 square, and then bishop g6 on the next move is even stronger. So the point of bishop g6 is that it comes with a very, very unique threat. In the game, black actually played bishop c6 and was forced to resign after the move queen h6 check. Just a really nice finish. G takes h6 and rook h7 checkmate. And that's what makes this move bishop g6 so strong, is that it creates this queen h6 check threat, which is more or less unstoppable. If black tries to move his rook away to give the king an escape square, then simply h6, and white is winning. Of course, if pawn takes, queen takes with mate, and if rook takes g6, we can take on g7. And black is basically losing here. King g8, and then white can take the rook. And in this position, white has a number of wins. Queen h5, for instance, is good enough. So just wanted to start off with that quick highlight because I thought it was a really nice finish. And the next game I wanted to show you is right here, and this is actually between Vishy Anand playing white against Luke McShane, who just won the previous game. And of course for Anand, this was his first tournament after concluding the match with Carlsen. So in this group of 4, it was Anand, McShane, the French GM Istratescu, and Michael Adams, England's best player, to round out the group. So here Anand was playing white, and of course this was a rapid game, so the players had limited time. And he played the move Queen G4. And I think this was a fairly strong move. He also had the option to trade queens in this position to give black these double pawns. But in this endgame, it's clear that black's rook is already active on the c-file, and meanwhile white's pieces, the knight on h2, the bishop on e3, are just not going to perform well in this endgame, and I think black would definitely have the advantage here. Another way of knowing that black is doing well here is just by looking at the pawn structure. We have this d4 e5 chain in the center, which is indicative of a French defense, and usually in these kinds of structures, white's advantage is going to be on the king side, and black is usually going to be winning the battle on the queen side, and that is exactly what's happening here. So instead of trading queens, Anand rightly went for queen g4, trying to activate his queen and threatening, of course, bishop takes h6. And white always wants to put pressure and attack the king side here because this e5 pawn makes the attack really promising because it controls the f6 square where black's knight would of course love to be so that it could defend the king side. But here things are not so simple. And Luke McShane had a serious decision to make because he had to move his king to one of those three squares, but choosing a square to move to is often a lot more difficult than it seems, even deceptively so. The problem is that in this position, and as it happened in the game, white is often going to sacrifice their bishop on h6, open up the black king, and then bring the rest of their pieces into play to go for checkmate. So after bishop takes h6, we can see queen h5 coming, knight g4, and then even bringing the rook in with rook e3. And because of this sort of implied sacrifice, it's often very difficult for black, who has to play defensively and think prophylactically, try to figure out the best spot for his king to be able to defend the attack, which we know is definitely coming. Now, I believe the correct decision was to play the move king f8. And this is definitely an awkward square for the king because black would normally like to reserve this square either for their bishop or for their knight to help defend the king side. But here I think this move is justified. And this was probably the right decision because now white has to act very quickly. Black is threatening a move like queen d3 to bring the queen into the game and defend along these light squares here, as well as to simply play rook c2 and start creating serious counterplay. The problem here for white is that if their attack doesn't succeed or doesn't take off, black is more or less going to be winning the game in the center and the queen side because all of white's pieces are sort of invested on the king side. So if white's attack isn't successful, black's pieces will be dominating the rest of the board. Thanks a lot for tuning in and watching this video on YouTube. If you want to see the rest of this video, then do head on over to the main site, Chess.com, sign up to be a member, and then you can watch the full feature-length video. Otherwise, I'll see you here next time for more highlights from the London Chess Classic.